Hey, what's up guys? My name is Sal, and this is another expedition log. Today, we're headed to the home of the world's largest naval station, where the USS Wisconsin looms over the entire city of Norfolk, Virginia. We'll be touring a mall complete with empty anchors, an abandoned hotel, and corridors that stink of mildew, which is hidden in plain sight. This is a fantastic structure with tons of natural light, plants, and emptiness, and I can't wait to show it to you. So come take a walk with me through the Military Circle Mall in Norfolk, Virginia. But first, a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor today is a hotline from the 1990s that kids could call with their parents' money to sing over the phone for judges that you don't know, for a chance to win money or fame and acting chances. It was a total sham, but it was hilarious. Check this out.
Want to try it again? Sorry about that.
Our latest winner, we'd like to announce she's got the talent. Yo, that's what counts. She believed in herself. She picked up the phone and called Be a Star right from her home.
For 20 seconds, she did her best to impress our judges. She met the test.
They made her a weekly semifinalist with other talented people. Yo, now beat this.
Because her friends called Be a Star, she got more votes than the others by far.
She was a finalist thanks to her friends. They called and voted for her again.
Now that you know how she won, why don't you try? It's really fun.
Hi, I'm Maria Pointer, and I won $1,000 in a part in a national commercial just by calling Be a Star at 1-900-544-STAR. You can win too.
Can you act?
Tell a joke.
Or maybe sing?
Then call Be a Star and do your thing.
The next grand prize winner could be you.
$2 each minute. Under 18, parents' permission. Void where prohibited.
Many people were up bright and early this morning, some going to work, others leaving town, and an equal number taking a drive to area malls to exchange Christmas gifts. Here at Military Circle, it was evident that many people were here for just that purpose, because of the numerous half-open...
In the late 1960s, a joint venture between Harvey Lindsay of Norfolk and Morris Alpert of Jacksonville, Florida, began planning a brand new enclosed shopping mall in Norfolk, Virginia.
Emptied, shopping center car lots filled up as customers in Military Circle took advantage of merchandise on sale.
Then on April 21st, 1969, they began construction on a new JCPenney, and 2 months later, on June 19th, the ground was broken and construction began on the first indoor mall in Norfolk.
Looking for and finding some very good buys.
Tremendous difference. $178 suit for $54.
Now, this wouldn't be the first mall for the entire Hampton Roads region, because the Pembroke Mall opened back in March of 1966, just a few miles down the road.
Good buys are all over the store, all over the mall, everywhere you go, from tall hammers over to leggings. And you can find in any department big savings. A lot of people are doing like I'm doing a Christmas shopping now. All you need is a little money.
Which has been going a long way for these sales. Penny Williams, Area 10 Eyewitness News, Norfolk.
The JCPenney opened its doors on January 15, 1970, and roughly 1 year after construction began, on August 6, 1970, the grand opening and dedication was celebrated for the Military Circle Mall. Serving as its senior anchors were JCPenney, Smith & Welton, and J.B. Hunter. The mall featured 52 stores at its opening, with seated areas in each anchor courtyard that included planted trees and fountains awash in natural sunlight from the skylights above. A Sheraton hotel would also open attached to the mall just sometime after grand opening. This is that hotel, and as you can see, it's now abandoned. And we're about to get inside the mall, but before we do, I'd just like to thank all of you for subscribing to my channel, and we're almost at 30,000 subscribers. So thank you all so much, and if you'd like to chat with me more, join the Discord, which is in the description below. And I'd also like to ask if you would please subscribe and follow my good friend Jack Thomas on his brand new YouTube channel, Retailpocalypse. He's parted ways from the deadmalls.com crew, and I'll tell you that he's removed all of his content from the deadmalls.com YouTube channel, and you won't find any new content there that's really worth watching. Go ahead and give Jack Thomas a sub over at Retailpocalypse, so make sure you're following me on all my social media. All those links are down in the description below. In 1974, the mall underwent some minor repairs and renovations, and in July of 1974, Leggett opened as the third senior anchor. This addition would bring a handful of new tenants to the Leggett concourse, further adding to the growing success of this Norfolk mall. Only 2 years later, in 1976, the J.B. Hunter was closed, to be refurbished and subsequently replaced later in the same year by a Richmond-based Thalheimer's. Around this same time, in the mid-1970s, an American multi-cinema Circle 6 movie theater was put into operation, which was located inside the mall. Then, an American multi-cinema Circle 4 was built on the opposite end of the mall, with its first movies showing in 1981. Some notable films showing in 1981 included Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is arguably the best Indiana Jones movie of the 3 that have been released. Yes, 3. I don't count Crystal Skull. Superman 2, Arthur, Stripes, and For Your Eyes Only. In January of 1986, the Rouse Company purchased the mall, and moving into the 1990s would bring the most change for Military Circle, beginning with the departure of the original anchor Smith & Welton at the start of the century in 1990. The Hecht department store company purchased and subsequently took over the Thalheimer space and was reopened and rebranded as a Hecht's on February 1st, 1992. What's that? Yeah, I'll try it.
You got a $4.99 and a $5.99 special going?
Cool. Thank you. Not bad. By 1995, Urban Retail Properties out of Chicago was called in to manage the mall property, while Rouse remained the sole owner. From its grand opening, Military Circle had natural sunlight only in front of the senior anchors, with incandescent lighting in the long corridors. Throughout the rest of the mall, dark red brick adorned the halls with massive round glass lights providing the bleak illumination, and the fixtures hanging from relatively low ceilings. The Rouse Company has always been known for building bright, sunny malls with tall ceilings, and they wanted Military Circle to be no exception. So in May of 1995, an announcement to pump $12 million into Military Circle was made public. The renovation would bring a new 8-stall food court, skylights along every corridor, redesigned mall entrances, and new flooring. New fountains, interior landscaping features such as planters and trees were also added throughout the mall, and 30 new tenants were signed. The project was completed by the following year, and the mall was formally rededicated on September 17, 1996. In the following year, the Leggett Company and Belk got back together after the once joined companies split back in 1927, and the anchor was rebranded to a Belk on February 13, 1997. This wouldn't last too long, and the anchor would shutter on September 20th, 1998. Looking towards the end of the 1990s, the Rouse Company wanted to begin shifting towards more upscale properties to position themselves for a massive portfolio bump in value. It was in 1998 that they first got in bed with J.P. Morgan. The New York Times reported on November 25, 1998, that Rouse took on J.P. Morgan Investment Management as a partner to help finance its purchase of 7 malls, 4 of which were in New Jersey, Colorado, Maryland, and Utah. No other malls were reported in the article. J.P. Morgan would have a 65% stake in the malls, and as of the 1998 report for the Rouse Company, they owned the Military Circle Mall until 1997, and that was the last investor statement that showed them as the sole owners. I actually got narked out by the security at this mall, and one of the blarts asked me to stop filming, which I was cool about, and I told him I would, and I left. But then I came back in, and I filmed the rest of the mall for like another half an hour, but I did film that exchange, so if you stick around to the end, you might see it. Looking at the 1998 printed blueprints for Military Circle, J.P. Morgan is listed as the owner, with Urban Retail as the manager. So there was a change of hands between 1997 and 1998 between the Rouse Company and J.P. Morgan, when they were shifting around properties and shifting around stakes in ownership to position Rouse to be the more preeminent owners of more upscale properties, moving their lesser properties over to J.P. Morgan's portfolios. Further renovations were announced later in 1998, and with two shuttered anchors casting a dark shadow on the future success of the Military Circle Mall, those two anchors were set to be demolished and rebuilt. The old Smith & Welton was razed after sitting abandoned for 8 long years, and on Saturday, July 24th, 1999, a shiny new Sears opened in its place, which marked the occasion with a fashion show and an autograph signing featuring Christian LeBlanc of the daytime campy soap opera The Young and the Restless. We're currently entering that old Sears courtyard. This is where the Sears used to be. Knocked down at the same time as the Smith & Welton, the former Leggett would be replaced by a new Cinemark 18 megaplex, with the projectors firing up for the first time on March 31st, 2000. Some movies in the theaters at the time were Scream 3, Next Friday, Snow Day, Erin Brockovich, and Reindeer Games. In 2002, Thor Equities, based out of New York, secured a $61.2 million loan to purchase both the Military Circle Mall and the attached hotel, which used to be a Sheraton and at that point had already been converted into a DoubleTree. They purchased this from J.P. Morgan, who was listed as the sole owner. At the time, the mall was worth about $85.3 million. By 2004, minor renovations were completed, and Thor had rebranded the property to the Gallery at Military Circle. On August 20th, 2005, the Federated Department Stores completed the purchase of the Hecht Company, dissolving existing May Company divisions and dividing the Macy's stores and Hecht stores between Macy's East and Macy's South. Most of the former Thalheimers were converted in Macy's South, which included the Military Circle location. And on February 1st, 2006, the Hechts, which was the former Thalheimers, that nameplate was replaced with Macy's, and the store was officially converted. This mall entrance is the one that services the former Macy's, and the only reason I'm showing you this is because I did have to leave because security was following me around for a while. So I left the mall for a bit, walked around the perimeter, and then came back through this entrance. But this is the corridor that reeks of mold. But you can't tell from looking at it. This corridor is actually in really good looking shape, but it stinks. It also has these futuristic, round, empty phone booths, which was awesome. Points for that. Later in 2006, Thor Equities placed the DoubleTree Hotel for sale and was purchased by Raj Ronderia for $6.9 million. And just 3 years later, Ronderia closed the hotel with plans in the works to renovate. However, he couldn't secure any financing for the project from any bank, and he decided to walk away from the property. Then, in August of 2010, Raj transferred the remaining $6.1 million loan and its debt to Prashant Merchant. Merchant initially had plans to reopen the hotel by early 2011. Merchant, who was part of the Norfolk Sci Hotel LLC, secured an extra $1.6 million in capital through the same lender in hopes to advance the renovations and to get the hotel opened sooner. Amidst countrywide Kmart and Sears store closings, with more being announced as the 2010s would drag on, the Sears at Military Circle closed in March of 2012 and would sit abandoned for years to come. This used to be the Macy's, and I was overwhelmed by a smell of mold and mildew, and I couldn't see any of it. It was hidden. I couldn't see any mold anywhere, but the smell was overwhelming, and it actually gave me a sinus infection shortly thereafter. I can't help but think that it was just the water that might have been collecting underneath of this fountain, and you can tell that the fountains were removed at some point from the other courtyards. And I'm sure once they remove this fountain, which I'm sure they will, if the mall stays open that long, it won't smell so bad. By 2014, Southern Bank filed a lawsuit against Norfolk Sci Hotel LLC with the charge of failure to pay $8.5 million on defaulted loans, of which Southern Bank was the title holder. This totaled $9.4 million against interest. Southern foreclosed on the property earlier in the year and recovered about $910,000 when they sold it to Virginia Beach-based Plaza Resort Management LLC, who purchased the hotel on May 27, 2014. It was also just days before this that the JCPenney would shutter its doors, leaving the mall with only Macy's and the cinema as major shopping and entertainment attractions to bring traffic into the mall. Despite the stank and the sniffles that I got from this courtyard was my favorite courtyard of all the courtyards in the Military Circle Mall. It had some really cool old elements to it. You'll see this beauty sign in a second, and as a matter of fact, you can see some mold on the carpet when I look inside this storefront coming up. But despite all the mold and stuff, this was my favorite part of the mall, hands down. Probably had something to do with the fact that the fountain was still there. I'm a sucker for fountains, even if there's a ton of mold growing underneath them. Ah, not so clandestine anymore, are we, mold? I found you. The City of Norfolk's Economic Development Authority stepped in and bought the vacant JCPenney building for $2.5 million against an assessment of $9 million. At this time, the gallery at Military Circle's assessment had dropped down to $21 million. And later in 2014, the mall was placed in receivership, with its financials now being handled by Torchlight investors. Torchlight would foreclose on the mall property just 1 year later, in April of 2015, after Thor Equities fell more than an entire year behind in paying off their $61.2 million loan. The bank would hire the Texas-based Woodmont Company to assume management duties for the mall, and it was at this time that the mall's name was changed back to Military Circle Mall. On May 15, 2017, Movement Mortgage opened on the first floor of the vacant JCPenney building to 750 of its employees. They're currently leasing the property from the City of Norfolk, who owns the building. The space is brand new, and only the original structural steel remains from JCPenney. It's a new building sitting on old bones, and they signed their lease through November 2030. 1 month later, Optima Health Customer Service would open their offices in half of the upper level of the former JCPenney structure, which occupied 45,000 square feet. And just shortly after these notes of positivity with big new tenants paying rent to Military Circle, on August 7th, 2017, the abandoned Doubletree Hotel was formally condemned by the City of Norfolk. As of the publishing of this video in December of 2019, real estate agent S.L. Nussbaum has the Doubletree listed for sale on their website for an underwhelming $3 million. Woodmont and Torchlight are still running the mall, with GMAC now holding the note. In which direction the mall is headed is in the hands of fate. While new stores have opened at Military Circle in the last year, the fact is, the main attraction is only the movie theater, since the JCPenney is occupied by office space. Plans were proposed to redevelop the site, with applications for grants in the late stages of approval, and the idea was even floated to have Simon Property Group develop a prime outlet mall on the site. But the Military Circle Mall and its condemned Doubletree sit as is, with the stench of unseen and clandestine mold in the courtyards. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It means the world to me, all of the engagement and views you guys give me on this channel, and we're still growing, we're still pumping out content. And as of right now, there's one trip after this left from the 2018 Chesapeake NC Dead Mall Tour. That's going to be Virginia Center Commons, and that's coming up next. And after that, we have ExLog 50, which is going to be a very, very special episode. So thank you to all my patrons, especially. You guys rock. And thank you to all of my subscribers, both past, present, and future. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and like this video and share it out with your friends. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again, everybody. Take care and have a fantastic day.
Sorry?
We don't allow no picture taking inside the mall.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry about that.